Have you ever thought about buildings as, I don't know, like history books? Ones that are written in stone and wood and glass? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today. We're heading to the city of Turku in Finland, which has one of the most incredible architectural stories in all of the Nordics. So let's dive in. Yeah, that's really the core idea here. When you're in Turku, you're literally walking through a story that stretches back 800 years. We're going to see how every single corner, every material they used, it all reveals a piece of this incredible journey. It's a tale of power, of absolute disaster, and in the end, rebirth. All right, so our journey starts way back in medieval Turku. This is Finland's oldest city, and it was a super important outpost for the Kingdom of Sweden back in the day. This is where the very first stones were laid, setting up the foundations of power and faith that would define the city for centuries to come. Okay, so this timeline is basically our roadmap for this whole story. We're going to move through four really distinct eras. We'll watch as the city gets built up under Swedish rule, then gets completely transformed by a massive fire, and finally, how it reinvents itself in the modern age. So back in the beginning, there was this really stark divide. Think about it. You had these enormous, imposing structures made of stone and brick, the cathedral and the castle, and they were just screaming power and faith. And then, for pretty much everyone else, they lived streets, a totally different world. Turku Castle is the perfect example of the city's evolution. It started out as this rough, tough military fortress, right? It was all about defense, strong walls, keeping people out. But then, later on, it gets transformed into this elegant Renaissance palace. The whole focus just shifts. It's no longer about just surviving attacks. It's about showing off your wealth and living in style and comfort. So, for centuries, Turku just kind of grew organically. A street here, a building there, but a single catastrophic event was about to happen that would completely rewrite its future and change what it looked like forever. The year is 1827, and you need to remember this date. Seriously, it is the single most important turning point in Turku's entire architectural story. The Great Fire, it was an unimaginable disaster. Because most of the city was still made of wood, it burned almost completely to the ground. And we're not just talking about a big fire. This was the largest urban fire in the entire history of the Nordic countries. Just let that sink in. So, what do you do when your entire city is basically just a pile of ashes? Well, you get a blank slate, and that's a really rare opportunity to impose a completely new vision on a place. And that new vision was a style called neoclassicism. The architect, a guy named Carl Ludwig Engel, he brought in this style that was all about order, balance, and grandeur. It was the absolute opposite of the messy, chaotic medieval city that had just been destroyed. And this comparison just shows how radical the transformation was. The old, flammable wood and those narrow medieval streets, gone. In their place, you get fire-resistant stone and brick, all laid out in this wide, logical grid that was specifically designed to stop another disaster from happening. So you see, it wasn't just a rebuild, it was a total reinvention of the city. All right, so as we get to the end of the 19th century, during the Russian era, Finland started this big search for its own national identity. It wanted to be distinct from its powerful neighbors Sweden and Russia, and it turns out architecture became one of the most powerful ways for them to express that. This search led to a movement called National Romanticism, and it was a really conscious effort, They wanted to create a style that felt uniquely Finnish. So they looked for inspiration in their own folklore, in the forests and the landscapes, not in the styles of Sweden or Russia. And you can spot these buildings right away. They use this heavy, rough-cut granite, and it makes them look like they literally grew right out of the Finnish bedrock. The whole vibe is just solid. It's about strength, permanence, and a whole lot of national pride. But, the pendulum of style always swings back, right? As we move into the 20th century, this totally new, pretty radical idea starts to take hold. All that decoration was out. Function was now everything. And this new idea was called functionalism. The whole philosophy was actually pretty simple, but it was revolutionary at the time. A building's design should be based entirely on what it's used for. That means no extra ornaments, no looking back at history for ideas, just pure, clean purpose. So all of a sudden, you start seeing these simple, geometric buildings popping up all over. They've got flat roofs, huge windows to let in as much light as possible, and these clean white plaster walls. But this wasn't just about looks, not at all. It was actually a social mission. The goal was to create healthy, practical living spaces, which was especially crucial after World War II when housing was so desperately needed. So where does that leave Turku today? Well, it's become a city that has really learned to embrace all of these different historical layers. It's not about erasing the past, it's about weaving all of it together into something totally new. Honestly, the best place to see this is down by the Ora River. This area used to be the industrial heart of the city. We're talking brick warehouses, shipyards, the whole deal. But it's been completely reborn. Now, those exact same buildings are full of life. They're restaurants, museums, and bustling public spaces. And for a perfect single symbol of what modern Turku is all about, you just have to look at the city library. It's amazing. You've got this beautiful, historic old building, and it's seamlessly connected to this modern glass and steel wing. See, it's not about choosing old or new, it's about creating a conversation between them. Okay, so after this whole journey through 800 years of history, what's the big picture? What does this all really tell us? Well, this table sums it up perfectly. You can literally read the city's entire history just by looking at the materials they used. You've got stone and brick for medieval power and religion, wood for just everyday life, that heavy granite for national pride, concrete for that post-war need for practicality, and now glass and steel representing modern openness and new ideas. Each material tells you exactly what was important at the time. And that, right there, is the key takeaway. Turku teaches us that a city isn't some static museum piece frozen in time. It's a living, breathing thing. It's constantly evolving. It survives disasters. And it finds this incredible beauty in mixing the old with the new. The history isn't just in books. It's built right into the streets you walk on. So the next time you're walking around your own town or your own city, I want you to take a closer look. Really look. What different eras can you spot? What kinds of materials are being used? What story do the buildings tell where you live?